if we really look at one of the deepest correlating factors of happiness, it's actually acceptance. If we can accept ourselves, the nature of life, and everything that's happening, then we're able to arrive at a deeper, more sustainable type of happiness. And that's a very different type of happiness. We then have the life that goes on around us, which is about having all sorts of different experiences, engaging with life. And in that regard, we are looking for fulfillment and happiness. And of course, that is conditional. So that's the side of happiness that we do need to work on. It's not just going to happen. And it does require certain dynamics to be aligned for us to feel that happiness. And the first dynamic, some of you might have seen one of my Instagram posts recently, I commented on this very first dynamic, and that is that there is a synergy between our inner world or our inner being and what's happening in the outer world. And it's that synergy that generates this aliveness, this feeling of what we call happiness. Why? Is because there's this harmony, there's a congruence. And our psychology is designed in such a way that we're always looking for that. We don't necessarily know or understand that's what we're really looking for. We're looking for our inner realm to match with our outer circumstances. So if you have a deep desire internally, or a value, or a sense of purpose, and you're not seeing that matched externally, your circumstances are not providing you the opportunity to fulfill that inner calling or inner vision, then you feel discontent. You don't feel happy. So that synergy is really key, which is why it's essential that if we really want to be happy with our outer circumstances, first we need to recognize we are the source of it. And so that means the choices you make in terms of your inner values and your sense of vision or purpose, you match it with your actions so that you endeavor as best you can to be honest, authentic, and aligned with those inner values. And that means then that we need actually a really good degree of connectivity. So first you need to be connected with yourself, and secondly, from that self-awareness, be connected with your environment, your life circumstances. Be connected with your family, be connected with nature, etc. Because through that connectivity, you cultivate a direct relationship, an alignment between your inner self and your outer world. And that gives you the feedback. That's how you start to recognize when you are in alignment with your authentic self and when you're not, when you're really expressing yourself honestly and truly, when your feelings are aligned and matching your relationships, matching the choices you're making in your outer world. So connectivity is really key. And of course, in psychological studies, it's well acknowledged and recognized that the connections we have with others are really key to our happiness. So if we have deep and meaningful connections with our family, loved ones, friends, then we actually have greater happiness. And of course, it doesn't need to just stop there. We have connection and kinship with animals, with pets. And we know that that's one of the ways that we find great happiness. You know, we really love our pets as a modern society, and we find that is one of the keys to great happiness. probably, I feel, one of the reasons we do get so much happiness from our pets, like dogs or our cats, maybe a goldfish even. I've had great happiness with the goldfish I've had over the years. One of the reasons is because animals don't live in their mind. They don't project mental conditions onto us. They don't pull us into those mental conditions. They're just present in the moment, totally present, absolutely being, just being what they are. And that gives us a sense of freedom to join in that, to participate in that. That's what generates great happiness in that kinship with an animal. Aside from the fact, of course, as well, affection is part of that connectivity. And we know that's another one of the factors when we look at psychological studies and statistics, that it's not just about connection, it's also about the quality of the connection that we have. And so affection tends to be a measure for a quality of connection, because we're physical, sensual beings, and our human design is as a herd. We're not designed to live in isolation. And so that quality of connection is really key in our happiness. Now, when we recognize that quality of connection, there's another factor that comes into this then, and that is openness of our mind. So how do we have a greater quality of connection? Well, it is actually if we are really truly present and open. What is one of the greatest destroyers of happiness and love? It's judgment. So it's not so much fear that really shuts down our happiness or love. It's judgment. And of course, that's a particular type of fear-based thinking. So it's not fear itself, it's the judgment that crushes the love and the happiness. So think about what it was like as a child when you were very, very young. Now, I don't know what your life circumstances were like, but generally speaking, we know as a child, we had a really good dose of innocence. We were very, very open-minded. We had this mindset that we call curiosity. So as children, being very curious, we're open to new things. We're engaged with a sense of wonder, exploration and discovery. And so it's a beginner's mind. And that means that there's this vitality, a sense of readiness and receptivity towards life. And it also indicates a very, very low degree of bias or judgment. And it's that very low degree of bias or judgment that actually constitutes the happiness that is alive in that curious, childlike nature. So a child can be really overjoyed when they discover a cockroach for the first time. They can find it exciting and wondrous because they look at this creature and think, wow, it's so different to me. And there's a wonder in that. So, not that every child thinks a cockroach is wonderful, but I'm just illustrating the point that we can encounter things that we find wondrous, that enliven us, and that creates happiness in us.